I don't know if we're answering questions that Kiara
Yeah, you can definitely
she
answer
left a
questions,
message
and we have a couple of
thinking
other
black business people seem very ignorant. Even black tech companies with tech companies are overlooked for funding, right? And that's huge. We are overlooked for funding. It goes back to the amount of minority investors. Majority of startups are by white men, and majority of individuals who are investing in these companies are white men investing in white men, right? And they use situations like George Floyd to say we're gonna make a diversity fund, right? Well, your fund should have been diversity already. When you're given it, when you have $100 million fund, your minimum check is $1 million. Why is only 0% to 1% of those individuals in your fund minority led companies? That's because you're not looking at minority-led companies, right? So it's not that we're ignorant. We definitely have tech companies. And I also, the caveat, devil's advocate on the other end of that is a lot of times when it comes to certain businesses, we also like to take the easy way out. Like, and not to say that there's nothing wrong with t-shirt companies, but those we create easier companies, right? Tech is hard. I mean, we've been building the tech here on Startup for the longest, right? It's a lot of work. And we still haven't gained access, right? We've been raising capital probably for about 3 weeks, and we're getting the same pushback, right? We know how to tell our story. We have our brand, but again, you're looking at a company who is minority led, and we still are overlooked. It's like we don't even get past the second call. It's like, oh, you know what, you're too early, or there's no like, hey, here's another investor in my network that I think might like this. They don't even do that. It's just, you're pushed off to the side. Let me go on to the next, right? So, and it's unfortunate because I think there's also a power trip in our own community when we have those minority investors in that place of power, that they also are overlooking us as well. And so I think
they
that
do
the
that.
stigma is not,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
so
just,
that was one
let's
of
be
the
honest, it's
things
not
that I,
changing
yeah, so that
as
was
much as
one
it
of the
should.
things that I wanted to bring up to you because um, one of the things we're doing in our network is that we are now engaging with angel investors and VCs to um, help build an alliance of, people with money. And a lot of Black entrepreneurs make the mistake of thinking because the VC is Black, that they're going to fund their company. And I have heard many of them say, most of them don't say it publicly, but behind closed doors, when the Zoom recording is not on, they are telling me, just because the person is Black doesn't mean I'm not funding them, doesn't mean I'm funding them. I'm looking at everybody and may the best person from the best culture win, etc. I think that entrepreneurs have to get out of this, oh, you're a Black VC, you're going to fund me, because I'm telling you, I'm not getting that. And I
Yeah,
think that,
and I don't think that should be the case, right? I think the best man should always win. The problem is that doesn't happen, right? The rules are different
Mm-hmm.
when they're looking at who the best Black entrepreneur is versus who the best white entrepreneur is. If you're looking for the best across the board, I don't think I won't speak for everybody here, but I don't have an issue with that. That's diversity. That's what
mhm,
diversity is, right? Everybody's on the equal playing field. But it's when the rules are different. Like was a couple of weeks ago, I think it was on one of our pitches, we learned that somebody shared a story with us that they knew a founder. They were at an
mhm,
event, and the founder had $25 million in revenue and
couldn't get
still
any
got
funding.
overlooked by VCs
Hmm.
in the room. So
Hmm.
they were at an event trying to get funding, and it
Hmm.
was black female entrepreneur, $25 million in revenue, and she could not get anyone to pay her attention in the room of VCs.
Do you know
I'm
why?
loving,
Do you know
I'm loving
why?
your audience here. Your
Yeah.
audience.
But do
Your
you know
name.
why? So I tell everybody, and this is like the Kevin O'Leary thing, but all of my investors say the same thing to me. There are three reasons why I won't fund you. And this is any investor, whether you have $100 or $20 million to put in. Number one, I don't believe in your product or service, or that there's product market fit. Number two, I don't believe in your team and that your team can actually build and grow this company. And number three, your numbers don't make sense. No matter what, it fits into one of those three. And number two, is for most of us. We could have the greatest product, our numbers could work, and yet if they don't think, whether it's because we're Black, whether it's because we're female, whatever it is, if they don't think that we can actually do it, then we're not going to get funded. That's the reason why the Calendly CEO hid the fact that he was Black. And people are saying, I think you were one of the ones that said, Twan, it's a shame he had to do that.
I felt bad for him that he had to do that.
But I understood it because he would not have the $1 billion valuation today if he didn't do it. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So the question then is, let's bring it, home to what can we within the 10K project do in order, and partnering with Laurel and his company and a couple of other companies. What can we do in order to solve this? Because many of you know, I always say we're going to have to start investing in ourselves. Nobody else is going to do it for us, enough for us to get on parity. So there are different levels of investing. There are some investors that I'm talking with now that are like, good, your organization can get the seed round together for these companies so that they're able to create their beta product, they're able to get some sales, and then I'll take them when they're revenue producing. There are some that are like, yeah, they could be revenue producing, but I need them to be at a certain amount of money before I'll even take a look at them. I personally think we need an ecosystem, like a strong enough tested ecosystem that if a company gets to X, then that investor definitely takes the baton and definitely works with that company to get to, $100 million, $1 billion, whatever, because we no longer have this thing of, we have never seen a Black-owned company get to $1 billion. Calendly proved it out. There was another company that was sold last year to, I think it was Amazon or something like that, that went to $1 billion. Got to find that company's name again. We have a guy, Joe Anderson, coming in May, who has bought $1.6 billion in acquisitions, right? We're breaking down these barriers, but now I think we got to believe in ourselves, and we have to basically, the supply chain of funding. I just thought about that. Just like we're talking about owning the supply chain of manufacturing, agriculture, technology, I think we need to own the supply chain of funding. When I say own it, I mean build it.
Yeah, it's really, while you're talking, I'm looking at you guys, the chat here, and everyone that's leaving stuff. And you guys, I love how involved you're and passionate that your group gets here, from Kevin Stewart to Diane, Alicia Smith. Your group is really intense to what can we do better. I think that someone mentioned it here, Michael Evans. Ecosystem, right? 10K project is creating an ecosystem for us to be able to change these different narratives, right? To be able to put back more into our communities, and really be a part of what we're growing together, right? The only way that we can create this generational wealth, only way that we can continue to be able to move forward and manifest all the things that we want for our community, is working together more, taking a better key understanding, right? And there's a huge lack of education and educational access, right? Post high school, post grad, right? And even if you are someone who has went to, got a degree and then you went to get an MBA, I've talked to several people who still do not know how to launch a business. Kevin mentioned, in terms of resources, Kevin over here mentioned about no code, right? No code movement in tech. That is huge for us, right? When it comes to being able to afford stuff. You're talking about Canva, building your own website on Wix, creating your own app, right? There's so many resources out there. If you guys want to, please definitely subscribe at the bottom of startupstarter.co for Equity Crowdfunding Week. Not only that, reliving 2021 Equity Crowdfunding Week, you can actually go back and watch the entire conference. Cherie is on it as well. But not only that, for no code, we did a whole 2-week conference on no code. So if you're interested in learning more about no code and you want to see that conference or some videos from that conference, please reach out to me directly. I'll drop my information here in the chat. But there's just more that we can do in coming together. And I think that I'm so proud of what you guys are doing. That's why it's very important. They are literally the only ones that are pursuing Black for equity crowdfunding. And the thing about it is, equity crowdfunding was created for this purpose, for us individuals. But let's be honest, you still have the platforms that you got to go on, or which are mostly white. You got to get approved by them. You got FINRA. You got all these different things that you got to go through to get that. I think that is very important for us to get more education, which is what we're doing here. More education out for individuals of color and our Black counterparts to understand equity crowdfunding more, and then continue just looking out for what we're doing to bring more education awareness around this. And we are in this for the long haul. Startup Starter is going to continue doing Equity Crowdfunding Week, and we want to make sure that it represents people that look like us, that feel like us, and that are in it as well.
Yeah, and I love, personally as an entrepreneur, I love what Startup Starter stands for, because I've only been an entrepreneur for 4 years, right? Cherie's been an entrepreneur for decades, but I've only been an entrepreneur for 4 years, and there are some, very intricate details to being an entrepreneur that you don't learn every day, right? You have to know specifically what they are and how to navigate them. And so I love that you're providing that. The key though is we have to show up, right? When we talk about what needs to happen, so we have to show up. So from an entrepreneur standpoint, we've got to show up when programs offer the kind of training and education you're going to provide, right? So that you can continue to provide it. And we've got to show up as a community from an investor standpoint and from a support standpoint as well. And we just have to do more. I'm not saying only buy Black. That's a personal choice, right? But what I am saying is we need to make a conscious effort to make sure our Black founders don't fail because we didn't patronize them, right?
Right.
You still get to make sure they at least have, they're when you pick your 3 options, try to make sure 1 or 2 Black businesses are in the options, right? When you get your 3 quotes, right, for renovation or whatever it is, let's on purpose, right, intentionally include them. And if they don't stand out as the best, I'm not telling you by any means spend your money on subpar service. They don't stand out as the best, then don't go with them, but at least give them a chance. And the last thing I'll say is, when we talk about the T-shirt and the shea butter and barbecue sauce, because it comes up all the time. I'm going to say this is my personal belief. Sometimes we don't see the whole journey, right? And so you see the T-shirt company. I see the T-shirt company that after they make enough money, they'll become the tech company. Just like I see the stripper, or you see the stripper, and I see the doctor that the stripper's paying for, to get through medical school. So it's really, we have to be careful also not to judge, right? Because we don't know what that journey has been or where it's going. And so if we continue to support, more tech companies can exist from these service or product-based businesses, because as they grow and learn and connect with Startup Starter and organizations like that, they start to see more for themselves, right? They start to solve problems that they experienced in the T-shirt business that now they can solve via tech, and now they've got the capital to do so. So we just have to also be very careful on what our support looks like, because sometimes our words have power, right? And I say to the T-shirt, barbecue sauce, and shea butter people, think big, but be great at what you do so that you carry all those lessons that you learned in these industries into your whatever now is the next big thing.
Yeah, these days you have the strippers start out wearing your shirt. No.
There you go. Listen. Don't be hating on the strippers.
No, I ain't no hating on the strippers.
What would the world be without good strippers?
Yeah, what we do.
Oh my goodness, y'all are too much. Y'all are too much.